the bar, I'm too persistent. Whipping comment, no cast. Get it on my own, no collab. But a bar with me, that's a body bag. Yo people, from what we're telling them, it's your boy man Line guys back in with another reaction blood. Right now you got Santan Dave, before they were famous, Troubled Life of David, Omoregie blood, featuring Ride Music and that blood. Now obviously trying to get some insight on man like Dave and that blood, you know what I'm saying? Definitely one of the top dogs, one of my favourites and that from, you know what I'm saying? And he's a private guy more time, blood. Obviously we've seen him in certain kerfuffles other than the music thing, blood, with certain things, blood, certain, you know what I mean, controversies and that, blood. But other than that, he's just a calm guy trying to do his thing, fam. You know what I'm saying? Let my guy breathe, man. Let him live, fam. This guy's young, man. 21. That's what I feel like. That's what people like. People, just because you're famous and that, they want to hold you to such a high standard, but fam, just forget that you're human. He's a young don, fam, still learning, yet he has a very wise brain, fam. He's wise beyond his years as well, fam. You know what I'm saying? But everyone be making mistakes, fam. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, let's get into it, man.
When you're younger, it's difficult for older people to listen to you. It's hard to grasp, but it's like you have to like have crazy content matter past your age.
Before Santan Dave would become a YouTube sensation off the back of his freestyle on the Black Box YouTube channel. Before Santan Dave would tap into his rough and at times tragic upbringing to help craft his highly praised studio album, Psychodrama.
Thank you so much to everyone that supported me throughout my entire career. I want to thank God. I want to thank my mum, of course, my family has been behind me.
Before Santan Dave would have over 1 million subscribers on YouTube, 693,000 followers on Twitter, and 2 million followers on Instagram at the time of this recording. Santan Dave, who often just goes by Dave, has had a monumental rise to UK superstardom over the past few years, thanks in large part to his critically and commercially successful music that has seen him not only earn the Hyundai Mercury Prize in 2019, but deliver a legendary performance at the Brit Awards in 2020 as well. Today, Dave is only 23 years old and he started this journey back when he was 16 and still reeling from a high-profile murder trial.
16, you know, and his content was, oh my days, but if he was 16 and his content was that of like a mid-20s, 30-year-old, like just imagine that, fam. And he's just gotten better and better, but from the time you set a certain standard at such a young age, fam, as you go along, fam, there's no wonder he's making albums like We Are All Alone Together and that, but like, bro, all my days, fam, this guy's ridiculous, man.
That would send his older brother Christopher out of his life into prison to serve a life sentence. This tragic occurrence would be a contributing factor in motivating Dave to accomplish something truly spectacular. So how did Santan Dave not only right his family ship?
That is not the one, Dave. I can't lie to you. That is not the one. I get it, fashion thing, you gotta make statements and that, but that is not the one, fam. And Doom RIP, you know what I'm saying? X RIP, fam. You know what I'm saying? I like the aesthetics of this right here, blood.
To accomplish something truly spectacular. So how did Santan Dave not only right his family ship, but turn himself into a poet with a microphone? Stay tuned to our newest episode of Before They're Famous to find out. Hey, what's poppin' guys, it's your boy Marlon Palmer. Recent drops in this series have included looks at Giannis Antetokounmpo and Scarlett Johansson, so please go and check those out. Since the show works off request, don't forget to leave us some ideas with who you want to see next. And I'll see you guys after the intro. Actually, no, I won't see you after the intro. We've got our friend Ride Music who's gonna be doing this one for us.
Santan Dave was born David Omoregie on June the 5th, 1998 in Streatham, South London.
Sorry, 155. Ride
Denzel Ray Don.
What's it, Ride Music, the truth about the rap game UK, blood mad thing, fam. I have to do some reactions to my man, fam. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not gonna lie, fam. Looks like man's got some interesting.
When you're younger, it's difficult for older people to listen to you.
1998 in Streatham, South London. He was the youngest of 3 sons.
I grew up in Streatham
and raised by his Nigerian mother, Juliet, a local nurse, primarily on her own.
I only just found out he was a Nigerian as well the other day, pretty much, fam.
And raised by his Nigerian mother, Juliet, a local nurse, primarily on her own. That's because Dave's father, a pastor called Frank, was deported back to Nigeria when Dave was only a few months old, after government officials found out that he was travelling on a visitor's visa.
I was gonna say, blood, how can you be a pastor and do you some dirty like that? But okay, hopefully it was still a part of man's life and that, fam. I hear that.
A few months old, after government officials found out that he was travelling on a visitor's visa. As a kid, Dave became something of a musical prodigy from a young age. He was staying inside all the time, practicing and refining his skills on a keyboard that his mum bought him at the age of 14. Now, you're probably wondering to yourself why a young, healthy teenager would spend all the time locked away inside, and the reason had a lot to do with what was going on with the people around around him. His two older brothers, Ben and Chris, were 8 years and 5 years older than Dave respectively, and their actions would wind up having a direct impact on their younger brother's life. When Dave was only 11 years old, his brother Chris would find himself involved in the murder of Sofiane Belhamouda. It was a high-profile case that rocked London back in 2009 and would eventually see Chris sentenced to prison for life.
Then, in front of hundreds of commuters, they launched a frenzied attack. In just 12 seconds, he was stabbed 10 times and suffered 20 separate injuries.
Only a few years later, Dave's other brother Ben also ended up incarcerated after a bungled robbery attempt. From then on, Dave's mum kept him under lock and key, tucked away at home, as safe as possible, as much as possible. As you can no doubt imagine, this period in Dave's life was extremely difficult for him. He had no real social life to speak of, and he also had to stay at home and witness the pain his mother was going through, knowing that two of her sons were locked up far away from her.
Okay, it makes sense now. It makes a lot of sense now. It makes a lot of sense in his lyrics and that, and the way he talks and that, fam. You know what I'm saying?
Going through, knowing that
so I'm saying, fam, when you're like an artist, go do a little research on the background, watch certain things like this and that to give you a certain introspective of, like, you know what I mean? It even makes you understand the musical prowess even more, furthermore, blood, you know what I mean?
The sons were locked up far away from her. The single most positive thing to come out of this whole experience was Dave's musical growth. At first, he tried his hand at rapping, dropping his first track at only 13 years old. But he told The Guardian, everyone hated it, so I retired. From 13 to 15, that was my retirement. After moving on from his early rap career, that's when Dave found his passion for piano, thanks to his love of film soundtracks, especially the works of Hans Zimmer. A few months later, Dave's mom would buy him that keyboard, and Dave would go on to achieve grade 7 as a pianist in almost record time, thanks to the help of a very committed music teacher he found at school. By the time he was 16, he dropped his very first online freestyle on the Black Box channel, one of the UK's most popular freestyle YouTube channels. And it was the same day that he went to college for the first time, attending Richmond upon Thames College to study ethics, law, philosophy and sound design. A smorgasbord of education if you ask me, but it makes sense when you see the amount of different interests that Dave has.
And I think like the freestyles helped me build the emotion, and it helped me build like a genuine connection with the people that were listening to the music.
This track gained a lot of notice online.
That's why it's good to make different kind of songs, fam. You know what I'm saying? General songs, the regular format of songs is calm, but freestyles as well, because it takes you into a different bag where you can be free when you're creating, where you're kind of locked under lock and key under a tune and that, fam. You know what I'm saying? I always say when you're doing a freestyle, you know what I'm saying, test certain things out, fam. You know what I'm saying? Go a different route, fam. Your songs and your freestyle should not be the same, fam. They should be completely different. That's why some artists with the freestyle things, and they're good, but then you listen to the tunes, you're like, or you listen to the tunes, it's like, whoa, and then you listen to the freestyle, it's like, you know what I mean? But
Dave's incredible and passionate description of the moral compromises he's had to make already still at such a young age. He would then follow it up with a couple of other freestyles of a similar nature, like an SBTV warm-up session and a Fire in the Booth session with Charlie Sloth. His next track, Thiago Silva with AJ Tracy, would elevate Dave's name higher than it ever had been before and take him into the grime scene, one of the most popular forms of UK rap at that time. Eventually, by the autumn of 2016, Dave was ready to release his debut EP, 6 Paths, and it revelled in a kind of new poppy and melodic sound for Dave. And within weeks of its release, it caught the attention of Drake, who laid down a verse for the remix of Dave's song Wanna Know.
Yeah, it just came out and it just exists, and it's just a beautiful thing, really. Just gotta give thanks, because that definitely like was life-changing, and you can imagine what that does for someone in London.
Man.
This event catapulted Dave into even further stardom, and when he finished college education in 2016, he had plans to further study at De Montfort University, but he quickly dropped those plans in order to pursue his thriving career in music. And as you can imagine, his mum was far from thrilled. He told the Fader, "When it gets to that time to tell your mum that you're not going to university, which has been a grand plan for you for the last 18 years, all of a sudden 700,000 YouTube views means absolutely nothing. That's not a currency she recognises." But Dave stuck to his guns and followed his heart. And by the time his older brother Ben was released from prison in 2018, David made enough money for himself to help his big brother get back on his feet, financially speaking at least. By March of 2019, Dave was finally ready to...
That's important, fam. He said he made enough money to help him get back on his feet, fam. Financially speaking, at least, fam. Because just because you have peace don't mean everything's calm and cushy, fam. There's more work you got to put in and that, fam. I like it that he highlighted that.
get back on his feet, financially speaking at least. By March of 2019, Dave was finally ready to unleash his debut studio album on the world, Psychodrama, which would go on to debut at #1 in the UK, selling over 26,000 copies in its first week. And it would also go on to be the biggest first week streams for any UK rap album ever.
I guess making the album meant to me, it was about creating a time capsule, speaking about the times that we're in now, the times that I was in when I was making the album.
As something of a concept album, Dave's Psychodrama gave him the opportunity to kind of therapeutically exercise some demons that he had and tackle his brother Chris's trial and prison sentence as a way to move forward, not by forgetting what happened, but by forgiving a person for their mistakes. With an ascension to fame as rapid as Dave's, the pressure to continue to produce comes with that. He told GQ, "I wake up and I write a lyric on the way to the shower, and I stay in the shower until I turn into a prune. I try to write, then I think, like, I can't afford to fail in anything." That pressure is exhausting. It wasn't initially exhausting, but I can definitely say that now it's exhausting. But Dave wouldn't be where he is today if he didn't know how to overcome these seemingly unscalable barriers. I have no doubt that he's going to continue to produce bangers when his sophomore album, We're All Alone in This Together, drops later this month. It's quite a good album title, and there's actually a really interesting story about where that album title came from if you want to hear it. Remember how I said earlier that Dave's a huge Hans Zimmer fan? Well, due to Dave's own hard work and success, he actually got paired up with Hans to create a special celebratory piece of music for an episode of Planet Earth. During a FaceTime they were sharing with one another, Hans told Dave, "We're all alone in this together." So when Hans finds the album in his playlist sometime soon, he might get a bit of a shock to realise just how much he's influenced and rubbed off on one of the UK's biggest rap stars. And for the rest of Santan Dave's story, like whether We're All Alone in This Together will earn him even
new generation, he just might be the biggest.
More
of the new generation, he just might be the biggest.
Breaking sales. That's a story for another time. After all, this is before they were famous. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Before They Were Famous, co-hosted by me, John O'Ramsey of Ride Music. If you want to see my YouTube channel, I do UK rap content every week. It is Ride Music, RIDEMUSIC on YouTube. So type that in, and @_Ride Music on Instagram. So if you want to jump in my DM, say hello, you're more than welcome. Leave a comment on this video as well and tell me what you think of Dave and what you thought of my hosting. I'd love to know. I really enjoyed this, so hopefully I'll see you next time. And until then, goodbye.
Thank you so much, Ride Music, for helping us out on this video. Shout out to the whole UK crowd.
I'm glad he did this because one, he gives my man exposure. So shout out to Ride Music 10,000 times. I'm not cut, but he definitely did it justice, blood. But obviously because it's a UK thing, so I leave it to the UK man, blood. Because if he did it, he probably wouldn't have been as good. Fam might not have known the certain details and all of that. So I like it, like how he did that, blood. You know what I mean?
An audience, we really love you. We're gonna be highlighting a lot more UK people on this channel, so make sure you guys subscribe. Stay tuned to Before They're Famous. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll check you guys next time. Bye.
Is that Elvis as well, man? So yeah, that's it, fam. You know what I'm saying? That's your boy man Nine Jazz reacting to Santan Day Before They Were Famous. I think Kingdom Media as well, or was it Festify? I think it was Kingdom Media dropped a video as well. So yeah, I need to react to that as well, blood. But yeah, I'll catch you man in the next one. It's your boy man Nine Jazz, and I'm out, fam. In a bit, people.